Hello, this is part 11 of our Building with Claude API series. And in this video, we're going to continue building the tool use that is needed for enabling Claude to set reminders for us. So in the previous video, we had already set the tool use that is necessary for Claude to get the current time. Now, let's add these additional tools that will enable Claude to add duration to the time and also set a reminder. This is basically going to be an extension of what we saw previously. As we saw before, in order to introduce a new tool use for Claude, we need to basically create a tool function and then create a tool schema that we could then pass on into Claude. If you look at the Jupyter notebook called 11, you will find all the code. So here, what we have done is, in addition to the tool function called getCurrentDateTime that we had before, we have now added another function called addDurationToDateTime. Now, as we saw before, Claude itself is able to add duration to datetime, but if we want our implementation to be used by Claude, we can just provide our tool. Okay, so that's what we have done here. And then we also have another function called setReminder. Here again is just a mock function. When we call setReminder function, it is just basically going to print setting the following reminder for the given timestamp. And you will also have the content, the actual reminder itself over here. Just print it out, okay? And this is basically where you would call an actual API call to some sort of a calendar to create the reminder. We are here only setting up the provisioning for it. Okay, for these three function calls, we have the schemas created over here. Just like how we have the getCurrentDateTime schema, we also have the addDurationToDateTime schema and also the setReminder schema. So these are schemas that we're going to be passing to our Claude prompt. Okay, let's walk through the process right now. The first prompt that we're going to give Claude is create a reminder 7 days from today for me to call Rajesh about the project update. Okay, so that's basically the initial prompt that we are giving Claude. Okay, it's on the role of a user, and this messages list, we are going to pass it on to our client. Here we have the client call and we are sending that message list. Now, along with that, we are passing a bunch of tool schemas, right? So here, for the tools argument, we are giving getCurrentDateTime schema, addDurationToDateTime schema, and also the setReminder schema. Okay, so that's what's going to make all the difference. So previously, we've only had getCurrentDateTime schema, but we're providing additional tools right now. Okay, so let's run this and see what Claude is going to respond. All right, let's print out the response. And there we have it. It has responded us with a text block over here and a tool use block. Okay, so we have got these two things returned to us back inside the content. Okay, so the text block says, let me highlight it for you. The text block says, I will create the reminder for you 7 days from today. Let me first get the current date and time, then set up the reminder. So that's the first thing it needs, the current date time, right? Basically, it needs this first tool to get the current date time. That's what it's telling us that it's going to do. And it has also created this tool use request. It says that it wants to make use of the getCurrentDateTime. It doesn't need us to pass any input to the method, but it just wants us to call this function called getCurrentDateTime and send the response back. So that's what we are going to do. Now, even before we do that, just make sure to add the response that you got, basically this content, this part, both the text block and also the tool use block, to be part of this messages list so that the entire chat history is available for our next call to the Claude API. Okay, so with that now, let's do the actual call of getting the current date time. And here we have the response for it, which is 2026 June 8. Perfect. Now let's add this response to this messages list with the type as tool result. Okay, and now if you print out the entire messages, we'll see the history till now. So initially the user request is here to create the reminder, and we have the assistance response asking us to do the tool use, okay, which is over here, get current date time, and then we do the request and send the response back. So these are things that we saw even in the last video. But now what gets interesting is the follow-up to this, right? After this, when we feed this history to Claude as the messages list with the tool schemas, now the response that we get is another tool use block. So if you see here, it says, now I will add 7 days to today's date and create the reminder. Okay. And in order for it to do it, it says it needs this tool use block. Okay. And here you can see that it is requesting us to call this addDurationToDateTime method. And it has also provided us the input to the method call. So here you see, these are the arguments that it wants us to pass to a method called addDurationToDateTime. So here again, we are appending the response that we got as an assistant response to our list where we are maintaining this history. Now we are going to do that second tool request call. Okay, so I have already pre-filled the arguments. So we have the response tool result here, which is basically 7 days from now is actually June 15th, and it even provides us the time. That result of the second tool use of adding the duration, right? We are again going to add it to the messages list, and then you can even verify that it has been added. If you look at the very end, you can see that as a user, we have provided the response back over here that this is 7 days from now. Okay. And with all this as context, we are going to do the next call to Claude API with the result of the second tool. Okay. Now, if you look at the response, it now says that I will set up the reminder for that date and time. Cool. And it also says that it wants to use yet another tool use block. This is the third tool it wants to use. It says it wants to call a method called setReminder, and it also gives us the input that it wants us to pass to it. So this is the input that it wants us to pass to a method called setReminder. We just add this response to this messages list so that we have that history, and then we do the call at our side. Okay. Now, setReminder is just a print statement for now. It's just a mock call, right? So here, instead of this print statement, when you have an actual API, it will go and set it up in some sort of a calendar and give you a response back. All of this, it is up to us in our server side to ensure that the actual tool call went through and created the calendar request. And once we validate that it is good, we are the ones who are sending the response back to Claude saying, okay, cool, the calendar reminder has actually been set. Okay, so here we're just mocking it and saying, okay, cool, the function call did go through without any errors. So that's basically what we are doing here. The tool result 3, which is over here, is basically none because we don't return anything. But since we are telling it that there was no error, right, with this function call, Claude will assume that a reminder was actually set. If you now print the final list of messages, you'll be able to see that at the very end, we send the response back. See, the content is actually null because the response from the tool was none. But since there was no error, when we give this context, see the context window is becoming bigger as we keep chatting, right? Now, when we send this history to Claude, we can see that the final response is only a text block. It is not giving us a tool use block anymore because it doesn't need any tools. It is giving us the final response, which is perfect. I have created a reminder for you to call Rajesh about the project update on Monday, June 15th. Perfect. So this is basically how we can give Claude access to multiple tools to accomplish certain tasks for us. And in this case, we just enabled Claude to have access to the current date time and adding duration to date time and setting a mock reminder so that Claude has these additional abilities. Thanks for watching. Hope this video was useful. Follow along if you're exploring AI for your workflows.